A captain who melts beneath the gale loses more than men, he loses the chance to rise again. I speak as one who has watched banners torn and watched the same men stand when dawn returned. I have seen fields burn, I have seen gates fall, and I have learned that the measure of a leader is not in flawless triumph but in what remains when the wind strips the camp to bone. You will meet storms that demand more than orders, they demand an inward manner of standing. A small story: once a river rose faster than any forecast. A bridge broke in the night and 1,000 foot soldiers found themselves cut from their general. The commander did not weep nor shout. He laid his cloak upon the ruined planks, he set his voice to steady cadence, and by dawn enough men had crossed the river on their shoulders. They did not gain a hill that day. They gained return. Takeaway: steadiness summons cohesion, a calm act invites others to follow. Stability is not coldness. It is not the absence of feeling. It is a rootedness that bends rather than snaps, that keeps the foundation while the parapets crumble. You now may be quick to fix blame, to look outward for enemies. You after 30 days will have learned to ask 3 inward questions: what do I hold? What can I yield? What must I rebuild? Repeat them until they are part of your waking rhythm. To cultivate such a core, begin with small, deliberate acts, name one fear and one concrete duty, speak fewer words and give clear work, choose one man to trust and one plan to simplify. I will later tell of a general who returned from ruin with banners mended and an army remade, and the rules he used will seem simple until you try them. Hold this thought: the hardest storms reveal the truest ground. Now, do this 10-second test: place your hand upon your chest, breathe thrice, and say aloud the one thing you will not abandon. Next, the 3 tests of the Spirit will come. In 1 minute, consider who beside you will carry a plank. A river's flood reveals the measure of a man. I have stood upon ruined ramparts and I have watched commanders break like reed, but you must understand that the storm does not choose the brave. You are not required to be unmoved as stone, you are required to hold what is essential. I tell you this from the campfires where I learned judgment, and I tell you so that you do not mistake rigidity for strength. A young captain once saw his palisade rent by wind and rain. He ordered his men to flee into the hills and rode away with them. He never returned to the field. Years later I met him, hollow-eyed and unready to lead. The army had moved on without the anchor of his presence. Stay with your root, your people will bloom. Takeaway: present courage keeps a host together, flight multiplies ruin. You now feel brittle at the first gust, you after 30 days will know where to plant your feet. Strength is a quiet center, patient, examined, elastic. I will not teach you hardness, nor will I praise coldness. The iron that snaps is alike to the reed that breaks. When walls are sundered, the man who keeps the storehouses, tends the wounded, and speaks calmly to frightened voices holds the day. A general once ordered his smiths to hammer through the thunder and to repair what the storm had undone. The smiths bent, sweat in their beards, and when morning came the gate stood true. Men asked why he had not fled. He said, "A leader who leaves his forge leaves his breath." Takeaway: action small and steady is greater than heroics in panic. Hold this thought: there is a rule I will show you that steals the heart without hardening it, and this rule was forged beside a ruined watchtower, but I will not name it now. For a minute, step outside your perception, write down the single thing in your command that would ruin if neglected for 1 week. Tend that one root. In 1 minute. A leader who breaks beneath the wind loses more than a battle, he loses the hearts of men. I have watched storms batter palisade and pride, and I have taught commanders what to hold when walls fall. I speak not of frost within the breast but of a forged rod at its center, quiet and unbowed. You now feel the tremor in your bones. You, after 30 days of practiced steadiness, will answer the tremor with a measured hand. Once, a deputy watched the eastern gate collapse by dawn and gave the order to form 3 silent ranks. Men whose faces were wet with smoke and salt stood by a single signal and did not flee. The enemy took ramparts but could not take the line. In that hour the deputy did not shout, he stilled himself, traced a pattern with his spear, and the men fell into it. The victory was small on maps, but great in its teaching. Takeaway: when ruin begins, your simplest sign steadies many. Hold the center, keep the cadence, consult the council. These are not lofty titles but ways of breath. Hold the center, guard what gives shape to all else. Keep the cadence, set a rhythm so the weary may march on. Consult the council, bring truth from the quiet ones. We are at step 3 of 5 in learning this craft. You are not yet finished. You now take these names as words. You after 30 days will make them habits that steady your camp. A captain once faced rain and a broken bridge and could have burned wagons to move faster. He lit no fire, he left no haste, he ordered lines to tie ropes and make a human chain across the river. 2 hours passed, 3 men slipped and rose, the last wounded child crossed because the men did not hurry. Takeaway: simple bonds endure storms that speed cannot outrun. Hold this thought, I will show how to temper that rod until it rings. Now, for 1 minute, name aloud the one thing you will not surrender and feel how your voice steadies the body. When the wind tears at your banners, the fate of your host hangs on the strength of your heart. You are not judged by the size of your army when ruin comes, you are judged by your staying. You must learn that endurance is not absence of feeling but the discipline of feeling. You will learn to keep your center while the world topples. Listen. A general I knew kept a single lamp when the citadel burned. He closed his tent and spoke no counsel that night, yet he did not flee. At dawn he walked the ruined ramparts, greeted each man by name, and shared the single morsel he had saved. The men followed him because he had preserved a rule: care binds courage. Takeaway: when you give what is small with steadiness, you win more than you have lost. To build that steady lamp you must set 3 practices: anchor your purpose, measure your fears, arrange your words. Begin with the anchor, state the one thing you will not trade even if every wall falls. Then the measuring, count the true dangers, not the shadows that gossip. Then the arranging, speak to your men as if you could see their tomorrow. You now bend under the storm, you after 30 days will stand with a measured step, your voice used to the wind. We are at step 4 of 5 on this path. 1 further test waits that will reveal whether your root holds when the tempests double. Hold this thought: endurance is forged by small repeated forges, not by a single, mighty blow. MicroQuest: for 10 breaths, name aloud 3 duties you protect and 3 weaknesses you will accept. This takes 20 seconds and will show where your center truly sits. In 1 minute we will examine the ritual that binds the heart to the hand. A leader who breaks beneath the first wind loses more than banners. I speak of storms not as weather but as examinations of the heart. I have watched great hosts undress themselves before calamity, bartering courage for ease. You will be tempted to seem unmoved. You must instead cultivate an inner line that bends but does not break. A calm face may hide hollow resolve, a steady hand reveals unshakable center. Once I stood beside a commander whose hill was swallowed by night rain. His soldiers expected fury or flight, instead he removed his robe and waded into the mire. He found men clinging to ruined ladders and gave them places on his own raft. The camp lived because one man would not be carried away. Takeaway: a leader's small action becomes the anchor for many. Resilience has 3 roots: clarity of aim, constancy of action, and affection for those who follow. Clarity keeps you from being scattered. Constancy makes your decisions predictable and true. Affection binds deserting hands back into the work of rebuilding. You will practice these in small measures, each day shaping a habit that soldiers see and trust. We are at step 4 of 5 in learning to stand when storms come. You now recoil at sudden chaos. You after 30 days will feel the stirrings of an untroubled center. I will show, later, the single test by which any leader may know whether his steadiness is real or only costume. Hold this question for the moment. Remember, endurance is not coldness, it is a steady fire that warms the camp, not burns it. Now do this brief exercise. Close your eyes for 15 seconds. Name aloud one fixed purpose, one small act you can keep tomorrow, and the one person for whom you must not falter. This is a minute's work that will begin to harden your foundation. In 1 minute we will turn to the ritual that binds these acts into a daily practice. The storm is not what breaks an army, the yielding breaks it. I speak to you as one who has watched wind and panic overrun banners, and I tell you plainly, steadfastness is a root, not a frost. You now clutch fear like a worn spear, you after 30 days will plant a steady stake and watch the storm pass. I will not teach hardness masquerading as courage, I teach the tempered core that bends without snapping. Once a young general fled before a sudden gale, leaving grain and wounded at the road. He returned the following month to find his men scattered and the enemy emboldened. Yet he refused to vanish, he stood among ruin, spoke 3 truths, and rebuilt his watch within a week. Takeaway: when ruin comes, name truth, gather the scattered, repair the hinge. Steadfastness is not silence but voice, it is not distance but direction, it is not a mask but marrow. You must learn 3 acts, hold the ground of your purpose, tend the spirits of your men, and measure every turn with calm. We are at step 4 of 6 in the path I have given you, and each act feeds the other like water to roots. You will fail at first, you will learn, you will become steadier. I remember a captain who, after a siege, refused the easy counsel of despair. He ordered each sentinel a single lamp, not for brightness but for promise, and each night men added a twig to the small fire. He spoke less and set more watch, hope grew in the hearth as in a seedbed. Takeaway: insist upon small, visible acts that say we endure. Hold this thought, steadiness is practiced in small deeds before it is proven in battle. I will show you the ritual that hardens the marrow without hardening the heart, but that lesson waits ahead. Now, for 20 slow seconds, name aloud 3 duties you will keep while the storm rages. In 1 minute we will test how these duties alter command.